Hi, it's me. I'm in my polytunnel. Look, there we go. You can see me, you see. And I've just opened this beer, and I've had it. I've got a bottle opener. A friend, a good Indian friend of mine, gave me in 2012 when I went to Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, I saw blue whales and 70 dolphins, I reckon. I saw 100 elephants, I should think. I saw a lot of elephants. I was an elephant keeper many years ago at a place called Cricket St Thomas near Chard. And you're going to have to wait for a minute because I'm going to have to do a burp. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So I was an elephant keeper. So it had been a long time since I'd seen an elephant. And it's really nice to see animals that, when you work in a zoo, your animals are all in cages. And it's lovely being a keeper and looking after them, but at the same time it's so much nicer to see animals in the wild. So I used to travel all the time every winter, and I used to go and see all the animals in the countries that they came from. So I went to Sri Lanka because the elephants in Sri Lanka are smaller than the elephants on the mainland of India. I think this is right. And so they're a sort of subspecies of the Asian elephant. And I went to see them there. And I went to Yala National Park where I saw probably 100 elephants. And I also saw a couple of leopards. And it was fantastic. It really was. I went with a good friend of mine called Nils. And another good friend of mine. And it was brilliant. It was so much fun. And on the way back it was like a safari park, but the animals were wild. And on the way back, there were just fireflies bashing you in the face, which was pretty mental. And it was a fantastic trip. So there we are. And I just opened it, just reminded me having that bottle of beer and opening my bottle with the bottle opener that my friend Axe gave me from Sri Lanka when I met him. And I just balls up his name every time I said it. I said to him when I met him, I couldn't remember. I couldn't forget what his name was, even when I read it, because it doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, I'm having a beer. And I've just come to turn off the system. It's Friday night. And it's starting to... Well, it's not. It was trying to rain just now, which would have been lovely, just to clear the air. And it kind of drizzled, but it's not touching the ground, I don't think. I mean, it's rock hard down here. I know everyone else is like, it does like it raining. I like the rain myself. Sorry. I don't mind it. So my Swiss chard looks amazing. My rhubarb looks good, you know. My pond looks awful. Absolutely shit. I don't know what that is. Some sort of... Looks like red algae growing on the top of it. I don't know what it is. The echium is doing well. It's still flowering. I think this one's going to go over a bit quicker than the other ones. But, we'll see. I thought I'd just bring you along and just show you what's going on in the garden and in the field, just to say hi. In the hedge, I just want to quickly show you this. This is hawthorn. The blackthorn comes into flower first, which is that one there. Oh no, that's not. That's hawthorn as well. The blackthorn comes into flower first, and I think that's what you get your sloes from to make your sloe gin. And then the hawthorn goes into flower after. Blackthorn tends to have a white flower. Hawthorn has a bit of a pink flower, like you just saw. And over there you can see this is elderflower, so I could make elderflower champagne because these are all elderflowers in flower. There's no bees on it at the minute. But there were earlier. And then I didn't know whether I'd shown you this in here. We just ran in and out. So in the bathtubs, it's the media beds, and they've got the melons, and they're in flower, which is nice. They look rubbish. Tomatoes don't look as good as the ones in the pots, but the brassicas that I put in are doing very well in the media bed. Sorry, there's been another burp. And the lettuces that I planted the other day, they're actually growing quite well, he says. Now, hopefully they're growing quite well. The system isn't on all the time. I should leave it on. I'm just a bit worried that it will burn out overnight or something stupid. Anyway, so I'll just show you the brassicas. these are kohlrabi and broccoli. My good mate Jake gave me some broccoli the other day and I planted them, and the majority of them have taken. But that one there's a kohlrabi, you see, and you can tell that because down the bottom here, he says finger in it. That sounds awful, but look. Down there is the kohlrabi and it's starting to form. You can see it there, and it's a swollen stem, a swollen stem cabbage. That one's not started to swell yet, but that one has. So it's just started, and that's a baby one. Baby one. It'll grow, and it'll grow much bigger than that. You can see that one there. It's starting to swell, but it's not as big as that one. That one's gone really well. There's some in the field as well, and they don't even look as good as that. So I shall bring you along and we'll show you this one as it grows. Fingers crossed and touch wood. The butterflies and that don't get in here this year and decimate all the brassicas that I have indoors. These two are peppers, and they're dragon peppers they're called. I got tomatoes in the other, as I say, and okra in the end one, along with some melons. I think they're cantaloupe melons or watermelons. Lettuces are different types. There's 4 different types in there. There's nothing in this bed at all. There's more tomatoes in this media bed, and there is a worm bin. We'll have a quick look at the worm bin whilst we're here. Now this end is where the food was, all the food waste, you know, the vegetable scraps and whatnot. And this is the, oh look, it's baby worm time there. So in here, oh look at them all, you can see in there, absolutely loads of them. So it's baby worms, and they've eaten all the stuff in here, all the veg and all the scraps and that. There are still some adult worms in here as well, but the majority of it is actually really good compost. So I'm going to dig it all out. I think I did a worm bin update a little bit before, but I didn't dig down as well as I am now. But look at this. This is great compost. And there are lots of tiny baby worms in here. So it's like a nursery bit. I think what I'll do is I'll leave this perhaps for another week, because of the fact that I've got so much space. There's a mango pip there that's not actually rotted down, but the majority of the other stuff has. Which is really, really, look at this. Oh, the compost here is just amazing. So they've done a cracking job. There's a big wiggly worm. There he is. But yeah, that's amazing. That's what they're supposed to do, is to eat and munch through all the rubbish. So what I did was I moved the next bit over, and I put the next bit in the middle, and I covered it in leaves, as you can see. And there was something just ran off then. There's a centipede. No, yes, centipede rather than a millipede. A centipede's carnivorous. So see this one? Oops, I don't know if you saw that. Anyway, look, centipede's carnivorous, and so he eats different insects in amongst the ones that break the detritus, break the vegetable waste down. Oh, I just squished a tomato there. Ooh, it smells. Anyway, they're still munching this because this is the new vegetable scraps. There's a pumpkin or squash there, which I've left in as well. But I mean, they're going through it so well, and there's so many worms all the way through here now. So that's amazing. There's a slug there. Oh no, it's not. It's just what it is. But yeah, they're munching their way through. So they've got to do this area now. And what I'll do is I'll leave this in for now for perhaps another week or so. And then once they've munched their way through that area, I'll put this stuff over here as well. Once they munch through this area, I'm going to take this area out and I'll run it through a sieve. I've got a sieve somewhere. I'll run it through a sieve, and we'll take out all the wood chip in that and the baby worms and that, bung them back in, and then the compost itself I'll use, and I'll mix it up and put it in some of the flower pots to perhaps top up the tomato plants and do all those different things. I'm just going to cover this over just so that the worms are back into the dark, because like I've said many times, worms are not fans of sunbathing because they go all crispy and dry. I would put a picture in if I was any good at editing, but I'm not, so there we are. The worm juice underneath, as the worms break down the veg scraps in here, as they eat it and that, they produce moisture, and the moisture drips out into this bucket here, and this is called worm tea. And if you get the worm tea and you mix it really well with water, you have to do it like a couple of cupfuls of the worm tea with a watering can of water. Then you can water everything, and it feeds everything. So it feeds the tomatoes, it feeds my strawberries, it feeds everything. And I actually have fed the tomatoes in the bin, in the bathtub as well in here, just to give them a little bit of a boost, and that helps. But it does make the algae grow more in the water. This one's much clearer because of the fact that it's covered, the majority of it's covered in boards. I need another one board in this one here really, but I'm getting there anyway. So I just wanted to bring you along and show you what's going on, what's growing and what's not growing. Everything in here is growing really well. Bananas, just new leaves every day. Beans, everything. Peppers are all coming back to life. I've left the shamrocky type thing down the bottom there because it's a nitrogen fixer. Absorbs it from the air and releases it into the soil. As I say, the peppers, I took them out of the system, and it took a couple of weeks at least for them to regain the strength in their roots, and they've done that, and now they're growing quite well. And it's either a cucumber or a melon or something over there as well. So I'm quite pleased with my whatever they're growing in here: avocados and lemons, limes, and calamansi sea. I've also rigged this back up to run into the into the fish tank to top it up, because well, you can see this is only over a week of really hot weather or so, and I've had to put loads into that one over there. So there we are. Anyway, hope everyone's well. Nice one. Cheers. Cheers, bye.